everyone. Welcome back to another edition of First Pour. Clink. This is our midweek resource designed just to help people follow Jesus better, and whether that's resources, follow-ups from the sermons, practical advice in our spiritual walk, which is all that good stuff. It's short, hopefully sweet, that you can drink with a cup of coffee while you're taking a break. Today, I'm joined yet again by my fellow pastor and desire of all things sci-fi. Is that fair to say?
That's true.
Yeah,
I mean, I've
big
got my Star Trek mug going on. Yeah.
Star Trek or Star Wars, if you had to pick?
Had
to pick.
Star Wars.
Big question. Okay.
Like if I could live in one,
Oh, that's a good way of asking that question.
Yeah.
Which would you rather live in?
I mean, Star Trek's more realistic scientifically, so but Star Wars, lightsaber force.
Yeah, lightsaber. Yeah. Like if lightsabers exist, I would probably do whatever I could do.
Yeah,
they're pretty sweet.
Maybe that's what heaven will be like.
Maybe. Ooh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that's not what we're talking about today. What we are talking about is we were following up something from this past week's message where you and I got the opportunity to preach through a little bit of Acts chapter 16 and this idea of not just knowing God's will, but living in God's will. The big question of everyone kind of in their faith journey always wants to know, well, what is God's will for my life? And it's always good to ask that question, but in some points I just want to say, but even if you know it, are you going to live it and lean into it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so one of the things we kind of teased a little bit is the idea of spiritual gifts, spiritual gifting, this idea of shape. And so, Samuel, you are here today to maybe just a little bit more insight to this thing that we might start using around our church called shape. So why don't you spend a couple minutes talking about that?
Yeah, for sure. So shape is, the word shape, S-H-A-P-E. So they all stand for
Shape.
Yeah, there you go. But it's kind of like talking about like what God has molded us. We're created in Him to do good works, and so we've been shaped in a certain kind of way. And so the five kind of things. First, spiritual gifting, and so. What are the unique things that God has given to you by the Spirit, the giftings He's given you? And so there's different gifting lists in the New Testament, in various different places, and there's extensive lists.
Romans, 1 Corinthians,
even Ephesians 4. So what are the giftings that God has given you spiritually? To primarily those giftings are inward for the edification of the saints of the church.
Right.
Some of them are outward for the sake of mission. But what are those spiritual gifts? That's the first. The H goes into your heart or your passions, your desires. One of the things that I think we as Christians oftentimes have a complicated relationship with desire. A lot of times, our desires are bad, and we have sinful desires, but there's also these things underneath. I think even some of the bad things underneath the bad things that are good, they're from God. We're made in His image, and so what are the desires? What is your heart for life? What are the things that God has put on your heart? Whether that's maybe you're passionate about really helping people who are down and out, those who are poor or going through a hard time or who are grieving or whatever. What is that area that just really you just light up? It's like, man, I really want to be involved in that kind of thing, working towards that kind of solution or whatever. So what is your heart? What are the things that God has placed?
So that's the H.
The H. Yep.
So then we have A.
Yep. Abilities. So that's a pretty
Force abilities.
Right. Yeah.
Force joke.
No, just kidding. That's a dark side power. So, but yeah, abilities. So what are the talents you have? So like I can sing and I have knowledge of birding and.
You do.
So like what are talents, abilities, things that you have, you kind of wield that maybe you grew up with in your family or whatever. So
things like you're good at, or maybe that you've learned as a result of your career.
Like you're good at like woodworking and things, or at least average. Okay,
above average, but that's about
much better than I am.
Sure.
I'm incompetent at so abilities.
So abilities.
Yes, that's the A.
So P.
And P, personality. So we all are, and there's always a question, nature, nurture, but we all are given a personality. Some of it's upbringing from our families, some of it's the things that happen to us, but we all have some kind of personality, and we all, outgoing, introvert, extrovert, those kinds of things. And that and so it's a piece of who we are, and oftentimes there's strengths and weaknesses to our personality. So integrating that into the larger shape of what God might be doing in and through you.
Okay, super good. And then E, last one.
Yeah, experiences.
Okay.
So the things that have happened to you, the things you've been a part of, and so these could be, hard things. I have in my family, there's instances of suicide, and so like that's something that I carry with me, and an extra level of empathy, compassion, and just awareness in those things. But it's also those are things that kind of happen to you, or you're suffering kinds of things, but also be places you go or experiences you have. I spent a summer in Kenya overseas, and so to that was very transformative to me, and that's something I bring with me. And so just kind of triangulating, what are the things that I carry with me that may align with these other 4 categories. And ultimately, it's kind of when you find your shape, it's a directional kind of thing. So what direction? What is the function of your shape? Where is God leading you? What all the arrows? I think it's helpful. Sometimes we talk about discernment or mission. Yeah. Where am I called? Absolutely. And it's like where are all the arrows pointing? And so when you have all these 5 categories, and it takes time to figure yourself out and discern that kind of thing, but it really helps give you a picture of it seems like all these things are pointing in this direction. It's like that probably might be obedience for me in this season, or even longer term. This for my vocation in life. And so that's shape. That's a brief overview, but that's kind of
that's definitely super brief. But I think one of the things that I know you and I like about it, and is this idea that not everyone is the same. Because I think sometimes we have this misunderstanding that, well, in order to do ministry, in order to be used by God, I have to do it like Eric does, or like Samuel does, or I don't have the ability to sing, so therefore I can't be involved in worship, or I don't feel comfortable talking in front of people, so then God will never use me to reach others for the sake of His kingdom. It's like, no, that's just not who it is. It's just you have a different shape that's called to be used in a different manner, and so that's why it's good. So one of the things, though, is kind of like knowing God's will. Is one thing to know it; it's another thing to live it out. And so, in a similar fashion, other than just talking about shape or discovering your spiritual gifts, what are you kind of helping us work on behind the scenes for our church, for our people, to lean and live into their shape?
Yeah, for sure. So we're actually working on getting together a kind of a test and assessment to help you figure out what your shape might be, and then we'll be partnering with anyone who decides to do that thing to discern what based on this, how can we walk alongside you and figure out where might you be good at serving here at first, but also out in the community, in your neighborhood, in your workspace, whatever. What are some of those kind of tangible next steps of obedience? Like Eric said, like that it's not just hearing the words, it's not just knowing God's will, it's actually then putting them into practice in everyday life. And so that'll be coming hopefully early 2023, if not sooner, we'll see. But in the meantime, you can always reach out. We'd love to nerd out and help you now, but there'll be some actual structure to that as well. Sure. And that's just something we want to integrate into everything. That one of our heart and our heart, our H, for first is to empower everyone in their unique individual calling, vocation, to partner with God in His mission. And it would be disobedience for us to expect you to be like me or like Eric or like any of the staff. It's who has God created you to be, and how can we help discern in community and help you set you on that journey. And it's step by step, day by day, and clarity sometimes comes in taking those steps into the unknown.
Sure, absolutely.
And that's where in faith God meets us. It's like, this is awesome. So
super good. As Ephesians 4. We talk about this not a whole lot, but as staff, our job is to equip people for the work of ministry, and so this is just one of those facets in it. And as it's talked about in Scripture, is we are a body with many parts, many members, but we have to work together. And so I look forward to how we get to continue to lead anyone and everyone, not just in our church, but people who maybe I don't even stumble across this and they go to a different church or they're from somewhere else, but they can begin to understand for themselves their shape of how to best serve their community and that type of stuff too. So,
definitely.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. This has been another episode of First Pour. Hopefully you got some time to get some coffee or tea or juice or soda or water.
It's healthy.
I guess, throw that out there too. And so we'll see you next time. Later.